Welcome to our webinar on energy transitions. I'll be addressing the contemporary issues. Since the burning of fossil fuels cannot be done indefinitely, other possible choices will have to be looked for in alternative energy. With the potential of fossil fuels running out and the negative effects on the environment, transitions to alternative energy will become the leading way to help lessen the effect of greenhouse gases and dependency on fossil fuels. According to the IPCC report that was released earlier this year, we need to make some changes and make them quickly to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. To deal with this, the idea of alternative energy sources is being explored. The political climate is a big factor in whether alternative energy sources are explored. In developing countries, the economy is growing at a much faster rate than in countries that are already developed, leading to a greater need for clean energy while they are in the process of enlarging their power grid. While we are expanding the global power network, it is worthwhile to transition to cleaner forms of energy. This, of course, leads to countries who are already developed in the old systems, who don't think exploring new technologies is their problem. While governments use regulations and research funding to further development of alternative energies, it's the business world who's going to have to figure out ways to make their products adhere to the new cleaner energy regulations. Because of this, businesses have started working on making technology that is clean more accessible. Businesses know that the world is heading toward cleaner energy and they need to lead the charge or get left behind. Clean energy sources like wind and solar energy represented more than half of the new electric power capacity installed around the world in 2009, according to the International Energy Agency, the Paris-based Energy Security Group, which has added climate change to its portfolio. The main downside to trying to transition the entire world to cleaner energy sources is cost. Solar panels are prohibitively expensive for the average person to be able to use them on their home. Although the costs have gone down in recent years, they are still out of reach for a lot of people. Wind farms cost a lot to build and maintain. Electric vehicles are very expensive, and there are few choices on the market. If it can be done, though, the benefits will outweigh the costs because it will slow or stop the steady increase in the temperature of the climate that we've been experiencing in recent decades. Humans need to care about this issue in order to slow down the rate of global warming. The risks of species losses are minimized if we can keep global warming to 1.5 degrees instead of letting it continue to grow. Human health declines for every 0.5 degree Celsius the average global temperature increases. The way to slow down the rate of global warming is to lessen our dependence on fossil fuels and search for cleaner forms of energy. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague to discuss the historical factors.
Hi, I did the historical context on energy transitions. Since the start of civilization, humans have always used energy. In many history classes, we learned that early civilization would use energy from fire, humans, and eventually domesticated animals. Once humans start to find and realize that they can find other and better sources of energy, such as coal, civilization started to grow. Coal has been used as early as 2000 BC in China. With this start with coal, energy usage and energy source has changed for humans. I will be talking about how humans have used renewable energy sources in the past in comparison to when we started using coal and other fossil fuels. One of the earliest forms of energy used was solar energy. Back in the 7th century BC, people used mirrors and glass to heat stuff up and make fire. This is way after China started to use coal, but before they developed the use for natural gas in 200 BC. People was using the solar energy because it was an easy way to get heat into buildings and light torches for religious purposes. But for us to use solar energy today, we have to have the batteries and storage for the built-up energy. That technology did not develop until the 1800s and the rise in modern chemistry. The next type of renewable energy used is wind energy. The first documented use of this type of energy was back in 5000 BC on the Nile, with boats using sails to travel. This is 3,000 years before China gets coal. With almost 5,000 years of nothing new in wind energy, China figured out how to use wind as a water pump, and Persia figured out how to use it to grind grain in 200 BC. Wind energy started to have a common theme. It's great to grind up stuff for food and power sailboats. Hydroelectric energy was first discovered in 2000 BC by the Greeks to grind grain, same time as coal in China. From then until late 1800s, water was mainly used for grain. It was not until 1870s that water can be used to generate electricity, 40 years after the electric generator invented. Shortly thereafter, hydroelectric plants started to show up, and by 1889, the U.S. had 200 plants. As I said earlier, China first used coal in 2000 BC. However, it did not start being used abundantly until the 1600s when the English found that coal provides a better fuel than charcoal. With this realization, coal slowly started to replace other energy sources as a primary use. This use of coal led to the Industrial Revolution. Throughout the Industrial Revolution, and to the beginning of the 21st century, use of coal and other fossil fuels ran rampant. These fuels and human carelessness led to the change in environment and climate change. This realization has led to many acts, such as the Clean Air Act, to change how coal and fossil fuels are recovered and used. As I have talked about, civilizations have used renewable energy sources before and long after fossil fuels were discovered and used. Based on this, I believe that society can change once again to become predominantly sourced by renewable energy instead of fossil fuels. However, society has to choose to change energy sources and make better technology to make renewable energy a better idea.
The world's sources of energy are changing with time. The rate at which they change could very well determine the state of the world even a century from now. Renewable energy sources are currently increasing in popularity and use throughout the world. Technologies such as solar and wind are also increasing in technological efficiency, and as such hold a very important place in the future. The advancement of efficiency will serve to hasten the advance of their widespread use and popularity. However, damage is being done and will continue to be done by the technologies of the past, that being fossil fuels. This makes it very vital for the world to move to renewables sooner rather than later. Solar will become more efficient as a technology in the future. This much can easily be seen by the advances made both in the past and the ongoing ones of today. As the technology itself becomes more efficient, it will become more cost-efficient to implement as well. Economically, something more cost-efficient will more than likely be implemented more and more. With that in mind, solar power is already gaining steam in the United States, and a significant amount of it is already used to handle energy needs of the country. This technology will only become more prevalent in the future as it continues to become more efficient and when fossil fuels stop being used as much. The popularity of wind power will also increase, just as solar will. Not only because of improvements in technology, but also due to its reliable nature. Wind power is currently one of the fastest growing American jobs, which gives it a decent indication of future growth and use. Wind energy, just as solar will almost certainly handle a significant amount of the world's energy needs in the future. Renewable technologies, simply by being renewable, are limitless and will thus continue to benefit the world as time stretches onwards. However, global warming will continue to increase as time stretches on, and it will continue to impact the world's various ecosystems. That will continue until fossil fuels are no longer used. That being said, it is important to note the extremity of such warming. Just a difference of 0.5 C of warming, the world of the future could be a completely different place. As world temperatures increase, sea level will rise alongside it. More species will go extinct, and many ecosystems will be irreparably damaged. Human life will also be further complicated as temperature continues to increase due to issues such as food and water supply or displacement. The difference between a warming of 1.5 C and 2.0 C alone is very significant, and temperatures beyond that can be even more disastrous. With renewables increasing in popularity and the world's technology advancing, the future will almost definitely be filled with renewable energy. However, the time it takes for us to get there is very important. As more damage will be done, the longer it takes, sea levels will rise and species will go extinct. But how far will it rise and how many species will go extinct? The scale of the damage will only be increased the longer it takes. The world will inevitably move forward, but the decisions we make in the coming times will shape how we live for the next century or longer.